Well, tonight, polls in the presidential race are tightening as Democrats are feeling re-energized, with Vice President Kamala Harris, the likely Democratic nominee, former President Donald Trump, also hitting the trail today with his running mate, J.D. Vance. The vice president was in Massachusetts today holding a fundraiser, while Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro was out in support. He's one of several Democratic governors who are among the dozen of names being vetted as potential running mates. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump speaking at a Bitcoin conference in Nashville, a day after he raised eyebrows over some comments.
You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote.
His running mate J.D. Vance also on the defensive after comments made in a Fox News interview 3 years ago resurfaced, and he continues to stand by what he says. And certainly an active week of campaigning for the two candidates. Now the question is, how will Ohio play a role in November? 10 TV's Carla Rogner speaking with voters today and a political science professor about Ohio's role in this historic race. She joins us in studio now.
Yeah, Colin, Ohio was once a key battleground state, but in the last two elections, Ohioans voted for Donald Trump. A local political science professor tells me he expects that trend will continue. All eyes are on the race to the White House. The race heating up in the last week, with Kamala Harris now expected to face Donald Trump in November.
It was like a return to page.
But who will Ohioans vote for?
That's always a question mark.
Oh, Trump. I think they'll go for Trump. I'd be surprised. I mean, I didn't think they'd go for Obama, so there you go.
Tina Moody of Clintonville is on to something, according to David Niven, a political science professor at University of Cincinnati.
This is a state that is not as diverse as the country. This is a state that's older than the country. This is a state where the median education level is below the national average. These are the demographics that are almost perfect for Trump. And that's why we've seen such a dramatic shift from, the definition of a battleground state to a state where Trump won pretty comfortably in 2016 and 2020.
Niven says Harris replacing Biden on the ballot might not impact the election in Ohio.
The problem for Democrats is that Biden was a good candidate for Ohio fundamentally. This is a guy who could speak to white working class voters, who could talk about, having grown up in, a lower middle class household and known struggle his whole life. And it didn't help Democrats at all.
Now a third party candidate will be joining the ticket in Ohio. The Ohio Secretary of State's office confirming Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s campaign has submitted petitions to be on the state's ballot.
The biggest effect of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. making the ballot in Ohio is it does add a little bit of unpredictability. Because if he can attract 2, 3, 4, 5% of the vote, and those votes are primarily coming from Republicans, it does add a little bit more unpredictability and make Ohio a little bit more compelling politically.
In Ohio, Professor Niven says the most watched race might be between Sherrod Brown and Bernie Moreno for Senate.
The bottom line in Ohio really is we have a Senate race that is going to be as hotly contested as anywhere in the nation. So we're still going to get the campaign ads, and we're going to get the campaign visits, and we're going to get sort of the excitement and the circus of the campaign, even if the presidential election doesn't focus on us the way it did, 10 or 20 years ago.
Until November, Ohioans join Americans in anxiously waiting to see who will win the votes.
And we've only got, a few months until all of this comes to a head.
And Ohioans will have until October 7th to register to vote in the November election. Reporting in studio, Carla Rogner, 10 TV News.